The Art Director's Debrief, The Three Musketeers, Number 15, Anatomy of a Seduction, The Devil and the Puritan. Hello, and welcome back to the Emotive Archive. We left our heroes at the siege of La Rochelle, having uncovered a plot of state-sponsored assassination. Now, the narrative lens shifts following the assassin herself on her mission. In the chapters we will declassify today, 48 through 51, Dumas plunges us into a claustrophobic psychological thriller. The battlefield moves from the muddy trenches of La Rochelle to the cold stone corridors of an English castle. The conflict is no longer between armies, but between two solitary minds. We are about to witness one of the most brilliant and terrifying displays of psychological manipulation in all of literature, as Milady de Winter, stripped of her weapons and allies, unleashes her most potent force, her voice, and her profound understanding of the human soul. This is the anatomy of a seduction, a masterclass in how to turn a man's virtue into a weapon against himself. The section begins with Milady's arrival in England. She expects to be a welcomed agent of the cardinal, but she immediately finds herself outmaneuvered. Her own brother-in-law, the cold and intelligent Lord de Winter, is waiting for her. He has been warned by the Musketeers. This is a critical point. For the first time, Milady's enemies are one step ahead of her. Lord de Winter, unlike the men she has previously manipulated, is completely immune to her charms. He knows her true nature. He does not see a beautiful woman. He sees the treacherous wife of his late brother. He informs her that she is not a guest, but a prisoner. Her mission is compromised before it has even begun. She is stripped of her freedom and escorted to a remote castle, a prisoner of the very man she likely intended to manipulate. This initial power shift is crucial. It places Milady in a position of weakness, forcing her to rely not on her usual tools of wealth and influence, but on her raw, innate talent for psychological warfare. Her imprisonment is a study of isolation. She is confined to a single room, her only contact with the outside world a stern, unyielding guard. This guard is John Felton, a young officer and a devout Puritan. From an art director's perspective, Felton is a masterpiece of character design. He is the perfect, immovable object for Milady's unstoppable force. He is described as stoic, silent, and incorruptible, a man whose entire life is governed by a rigid, black-and-white religious doctrine. He is loyal to Lord de Winter, and he sees Milady not as a woman, but as the Babylonian, a creature of sin and temptation. He is, on the surface, the perfect jailer, a man seemingly immune to seduction. And it is against this wall of pious rigidity that Milady begins her brilliant, patient assault. Her strategy is not one of direct seduction, which she knows would fail against a Puritan. Instead, she launches a campaign of psychological manipulation, a performance designed to reframe the entire narrative. Her first move is to play the victim. She does not act like a dangerous spy, she acts like a persecuted saint. She spends her days in prayer, singing psalms, her beautiful voice echoing through the cold castle. She presents herself not as a Catholic agent of the cardinal, but as a fellow Puritan, persecuted for her faith by the breathtaking Duke of Buckingham. This is a stroke of genius. She is not trying to tempt Felton away from his faith, she is trying to co-opt it. She is positioning herself as a sister in his own religion, a fellow martyr. She masterfully uses every small interaction to sow seeds of doubt in Felton's mind. She accidentally drops her prayer book. She speaks of the Duke of Buckingham not as a political leader, but as a libertine, a man of sin who persecutes the righteous, a narrative that plays directly into a Puritan's worldview. She does not try to charm Felton with flirtation, she tries to convert him with a shared, fabricated piety. She understands that the key to unlocking Felton's soul is not through his desires, but through his righteousness. She must convince him that by helping her, he is not committing an act of treason, but an act of holy justice. It is a slow, methodical, and terrifyingly effective campaign. The initial chapters of her captivity are not about action, but about the subtle, patient erosion of a righteous man's certainty. She is not breaking down the walls of his prison, she is slowly, carefully poisoning the mind of its guard.
Now that we have analyzed the events, let us elevate our analysis and view this section as a deep, timeless study in the psychology of manipulation and the nature of belief. The duel between Milady and Felton is one of the most modern and psychologically astute parts of the entire novel. It is a story that resonates with our own age of disinformation and ideological warfare. Let us declassify Milady's techniques. What she is practicing is a classic form of psychological manipulation known today as gaslighting and the creation of a shared psychosis. She does not challenge Felton's reality, she subtly alters it. She takes the core elements of her belief system, his Puritan faith, his distrust of the decadent aristocrats, his rigid sense of justice, and she twists them to serve her own ends. She creates a new narrative where she is the innocent victim and the Duke of Buckingham, Felton's own commander, is the corrupt, evil persecutor. This is a powerful tactic. By framing Buckingham as the enemy of his own faith, she is creating a profound cognitive dissonance in Felton's mind. His loyalty to his commander is now in direct conflict with his loyalty to his God. Her performance as a pious martyr is a masterstroke. She understands that for a man like Felton, who lives in a world of absolute moral certainties, the idea of a beautiful, suffering woman being persecuted for her faith is an incredibly powerful archetype. She is tapping into the deep-seated narratives of religious martyrdom. She is not just a prisoner, she is a saint in chains. This performance is designed to activate his savior complex, a psychological need to protect the innocent and punish the wicked. She is not seducing him with her body, she is seducing him with his own virtues. She is turning his righteousness, his greatest strength, into his fatal flaw. John Felton is a tragic figure not because he is stupid, but because he is so fanatically devout. His rigid black and white worldview makes him paradoxically vulnerable to manipulation. Because he believes so absolutely in the battle between good and evil, he cannot comprehend a third option, a being who is evil but masterfully performs the role of good. He lacks the worldly cynicism of the Musketeers. He has never encountered a creature like Milady before. When her narrative, which aligns so perfectly with his own religious biases, he is intellectually and emotionally unequipped to resist it. He is a man who has spent his life preparing for a spiritual war against a clear, obvious devil. He is completely unprepared for a devil who arrives disguised as an angel, singing psalms. From an artistic and historical perspective, this section is a deep dive into the psychology of Puritanism. The Puritans of the 17th century were a powerful and radical force, defined by their strict moral code and their opposition to what they saw as the corrupt Catholic-influenced decadence of the monarchy. Dumas, writing in a post-revolutionary France, was fascinated by this kind of religious and political fanaticism. In Felton, he creates a portrait of a man whose absolute faith makes him both incredibly strong and incredibly fragile. His integrity is a rock, but Milady is the water that will, drip by drip, wear that rock away. The historical assassination of the Duke of Buckingham was, in reality, carried out by a disgruntled officer named John Felton. Dumas takes this historical fact and invents a brilliant fictional psychological motive for it. He suggests that the assassin was not driven by simple political grievance, but was the instrument of a far more sinister, manipulative force. In conclusion, these chapters are a chilling and intimate psychological thriller. They demonstrate that the most dangerous battles are not fought with swords, but with words, with narratives, with beliefs. Milady de Winter proves herself to be the novel's most formidable antagonist, an agent whose understanding of the human soul is her deadliest weapon. She is a master of turning a person's strengths into weaknesses, their faith into a tool for their own destruction. The slow, methodical corruption of John Felton is a terrifying spectacle. He is a good man, a man of principle, but his very principles are being weaponized against him. The question that hangs in the air as this section ends is not if he will fall, but when, and how devastating the consequences will be when he does. Thank you for joining me in the Emotive Archive.